Welcome to episode 16 of My Life is Strange analysis. We're going to go through every second of the end of the alternate timeline. For the past hour, they've been prepping us to do this, and they've been winding the tension up. Now they're going to try and release that tension with a long conversation and a goodbye scene. I'm going to try and fast forward through most of it simply because it is very, very long. But it works fairly well in the game, and I recommend that you study it if you want to learn a little bit more about how to release that built-up tension in an organic way. Let's go ahead and just get straight to it. We've already spent plenty of time here in the alternate timeline, and I think that we can afford to wrap things up.
Is that okay?
Perfect. Oh my god, look how little we are there. We look like toys.
I remember that day by the lighthouse.
My dad was pissed at us. He actually tried to give us a timeout.
And you laughed at him. My dad would have banished me.
So we don't have the ability to look at any of these photos close up, but it is a good way for us to
awesome
connect
picture.
with alternate
So
reality
badass
Chloe.
in our pirate
Now,
gear.
the thing about
We should have
this that's
taken over
so
Arcadia Bay when
interesting
we
to
had the
me
chance.
is that these photos
There's
are
still time for
unchanged.
you.
Both Chloes have these photos in their past. So we're seeing Chloe's opinions, a different Chloe, on the same past events. So it's an interesting idea, and I don't know whether the writer thought of that on purpose, but it allows us to really get a good handle on how punk Chloe would really feel, because this Chloe never learned to be hard or to medicate her emotions away.
Literally seems like yesterday.
I wish it was.
Me too. This photo... Maybe I could...
Here it comes.
Listen, Max. My respiratory system is failing, and it's only getting worse. I've heard the doctors talking about it when they thought I was zonked out. So, I know I'm just putting off the inevitable while my parents suffer along, and I will too. This isn't how I want things to end.
What? What are you saying?
I'm saying that being with you again has been so special. I just wanted to feel like when we were kids running around Arcadia
Notice the
Bay.
texture change in the face?
Possible. And you made me feel that way today. I want this time with you to be my last memory. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
All you have to do is crank up the IV to 11.
Good facial expressions. So this is an interesting situation. At the end of the chapter, you find out that most people accept it. I haven't ever accepted. I've played through this game several times now in order to get ready for this analysis, and I always pick refuse, but I guess I'll pick accept because that's the way that most people do it.
Chloe.
I'll just drift asleep, dreaming of us here together. Forever.
Now, it's pretty clear that Joyce at least knows that this is why we came.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you for following your dreams. Don't forget about me.
Never.
I love you, Max. See you around.
Sooner than you think.
Now, if you refuse, she just gets grumpy and tells you to leave. So that's much more emotional to kill her. But we're obviously not going to let her stay dead. She's way more important to us than William. And I think that everyone involved, including William, would happily reverse this. So we're going to have a lot to say about this scene. A whole lot. Because it's a very powerful scene. And it's also a scene that could have been more powerful. Let's take a look. Nope, that's the wrong way.
Someday Dad'll get one of them newfangled computers.
I hope the flash didn't scare you, Max. This is a keeper.
So, as you can see, this is playing out as a cutscene.
Hey, honey. What?
I think this was a really big
Of course
mistake.
I'll come pick you up.
And I'm going to pause the game and talk about why. As I said, games are at their strongest when you're allowed to soak in the spaces between the plot events. Imagine having to replay the scene that you played before, but just letting him die. All of the events that happened then could happen now. You could hear that egg talk again, and it would make a lot more sense in case you miss it the first time. When you took a picture, Max now knows that the situation is different. So imagine when you take that picture of them in front of the stove, imagine Max saying, "Could you switch places?" Imagine the kinds of things that you would say when you're talking to them for the last time. Or imagine the kinds of things that you would have to say about the scenery. For example, in the previous version of this scene, we could walk up to a magazine or a piece of paper and read it. But this time, when you walk up to it and interact with it, you might just say, "It doesn't matter." It could have been made much, much more powerful, and you already had all of the assets except for a small amount of voice acting. And I would have loved to have seen it. It would have been devastating to play.
Shit, where are my keys?
That's $1 for the swear jar.
You mean your college fund? Aha! You can't hide from me forever.
It's still pretty devastating,
And no Chloe and Max.
but a cutscene can never have the power
Don't blow it, because
that you can get out of the gameplay itself.
salmon surprise with chocolate cake for dessert. Max, you'll be here too, right?
Especially since all of these cutscene elements could have been worked into the gameplay.
Max, you are being so fucking strange. Like you're never gonna see us again.
Chloe, I'm so sorry. I tried to make things different for you. I did try. I'm sorry.
I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but come on. You have made things different, like my whole life. You're my best friend. I've got you and a great family. What's to be sorry for? We'll be best friends forever. And when we grow up, we're taking over the world.
Listen, whatever happens, I want you to be strong. Even if you feel like I wasn't there for you. Because I will never abandon you, Chloe.
And this made me convinced that she was the lady who's missing now. I can't remember her name all of a sudden. If you're a time traveler and you say you're always going to be there for someone and you miss 5 years, that means you were someone else. That is the standard plot. Once again, we are seeing the pictures reverting back to punk Chloe and her angry life. But at least she's alive. And that picture is my favorite. Rachel, that was her name. I was convinced I was Rachel, because at that point, Max said, "I'll always be with you, Chloe," and then she left for 5 years. Means you're coming in as Rachel. You're being Rachel. You're the same size as Rachel. Rachel is socially perfect. Rachel never makes any mistakes. One of the strongest things about this writer is the slowness of their scene transitions. When you return back to the prime reality, you don't get stuck in a sudden, it's not like, whoa, it's very, very slow, and then they release the tension piece by piece. This allows them to spool out everything they've earned. With that emotional scene you just went through, now they can refocus all of that tension and all of that emotion back into the game world and reinvest it. And the music is a big part of it, the light is a big part of it, the dialogue. All of this stuff is built specifically to pull that tension from the previous scene into this scene and permanently stamp it into the game world and the characters inside the game world.
Max, did you forget we've gone over this? I hope you weren't messing around with time while I was sleeping.
Yes, we messed around with time while you slept.
Welcome back to the real world, Max.
Now, once again, Max doesn't know what happened in this history. Max didn't know what was happening in the other history. Max didn't know what she missed in this history. Max's personal timeline is disconnected from the timelines of the world. Now, that's an interesting concept for a video game, because in a book or a movie, it probably wouldn't matter much. But in a video game, that can be gameplay. There can be serious gameplay in that idea that you do not know what you are doing when you are not in a timeline. That's so powerful, and they never ended up using it for anything.
Let's look at the big board and see all our pieces in the puzzle so far.
No, let's take a look around first.
Damn, this is a serious expose on the Prescotts. Finally.
So at this point, I was thinking to myself, we are going to go back in time, and we are going to struggle to save Chloe from the various horrors that will try and kill her over the past 5 years. But unfortunately, that was just a dream.
There's Chloe's cash stash. Sorry, Principal Wells.
So I'm sorry if the sound is going up and down a lot in here. YouTube audio claims get really, really aggressive, so I have to cut the audio off whenever I can, in order to keep them from claiming that they own all of my videos, because they are shit. The videos and the people claiming them.
This butterfly photo seems like a million years ago. How much time have I altered since?
I don't know if you noticed, but you can see Max in this butterfly photo. Nearly all of the photos that Max takes that are selfies, I consider viable. It would have been amazing to see selfies lined up on a pinboard like this, jumping into each one, trying to make the next one the leap home.
So close, yet so far away. We have to do 3 main things.
Right. What things?
Although it seems minor, having Chloe ask the question and having Max explain the situation is a very powerful tool that allows us to see that Max has moved forward. She's become more dominant and confident and much more determined. And that's an important little trick that you can use to show character growth. You don't have to just state things outright.
Kick his ass, then rewind. Fine, whatevs. It's your power.
Which I can't waste on shit like that. Or Blackwell would be in big trouble.
So Max pretty clearly is starting to think that her power is responsible for the damage happening.
I just want him off your back.
But that's not carried out by her later conversations, so maybe it's just an accident. Maybe it just sounds like it.
I'm gonna cyberstalk some names and see where that leads. Or to who. And be careful of Stepcrack. Unless you want to hang out with him after you stood up for his ass yesterday.
Oh, please. I can't abuse this level of my rewind power. It's way too dangerous, and I need to navigate the present without messing up the past.
Okay, so the concept here is that she is not planning to jump into any more photos for reasons. She seems to think that messing up the past is a terrible idea, but we have no evidence of that. We have evidence that when we messed up the past last time,
Poor little bird has been trapped in here.
it didn't work out for us. But when we pass, why would we assume that that's always going to be the case?
My butterfly sketch doesn't exist in this timeline. Like William.
They're really trying to make that butterfly thing stick, and it just does not. It just doesn't exist. So we can go back out into the backyard, and it's full of trash and grime in comparison to the William timeline, because William cleans house. And here is the set, the playground set that was missing in the other timeline. We can't sit on it in this reality at the moment for some reason, but that was Chloe's wings. It was a representation of Chloe's wings, and it's back. Despite that, we're not super hyped up in this timeline. I would have liked to see some more self-awareness from Max. I would have liked to have Max comment on things about how she's going to be able to save Chloe, and Chloe now has a future. But she sort of just takes it on, it's just sort of really, really flat. It doesn't matter to her at all after the first 5 seconds.
Maybe there's some new clues around.
At this point, we're done investing the tension we earned from the alternate timeline, and now we're going to try and draw some new tension into the player from the original timeline's problems. David is going to remind us that there are some serious problems with this timeline and try to get the player a little bit hyped up, a little bit back into some tension.
Yes, sir. You and Chloe still better be careful where you wander. There are a lot of dark places in Arcadia Bay.
What do you mean by dark places?
I can't tell you everything that's going on at Blackwell, and you've seen too much already, so please stay out of this, Max.
Too late. I already know way too much. So, do you and Nathan Prescott...
That little shit-ass Nathan Prescott is lucky he only got suspended.
I don't think luck...
See, at this point, it's becoming clear that if he's working with Nathan, it's not on purpose.
I didn't have all the evidence at the time. I am sorry, Max. Anyway, I think we can both agree it's been a hard week on all of us. Especially poor Kate Marsh.
I tried to help Kate.
You did, Max. You saved her life like a hero while I left the goddamn dorm roof wide open. I knew Kate was feeling desperate. You even made it to the roof before me or anybody.
I knew Kate was desperate too. So did Mr. Jefferson.
That guy is an elite.
Now we're
prick.
starting to get some subtle hints that Mr. Jefferson might not be all sunshines and flowers.
Step douche. These artists live in a fantasy world.
Well, so do you.
Why do you say that?
These art farts are all about themselves. When I was in the service, I hated the photographers who try to pose me in their anti-war bullshit.
Well, Blackwell Academy is a school for artists, so maybe this isn't the best place for you.
I have a family here, Max, and I think Blackwell is the best place for me, since only I know what's happening. That's why I'm working out the new Blackwell surveillance plan to protect future students, so they don't end up like Rachel Amber and Kate Marsh. Although, you're like a walking surveillance system. I appreciate you standing up for me, but I have to be a hard ass and tell you and Chloe to stay the hell out of this.
I really like that whole conversation. I think it really finishes humanizing David.
Ourselves.
Now, excuse me, Max. I have to get back to my camera. See? I'm an artist, too.
Now, obviously, David is a prick, and it's pretty clear that he is not ever going to be the kind of person that will get along with people like us. But that said, it's also clear that he is trying his best, and he's not working with Nathan. Whatever random stuff we we may have found obviously needs to be reinterpreted.
In that locker. Hey, David, what you hiding?
Now, what was it? 7171 or 1717? Something like that? I actually don't remember.
Shit.
There we are.
Yes, I knew that number would be important.
He's right there, but whatever. I guess we can just rewind time.
Oh, maps, notes, coordinates, photos of Kate, Nathan. Yes.
How the hell he got that picture? Really? Seriously? Where the hell was he hiding? In a tree? So here we're starting to see how things are going to start to come together. We're gathering a lot of evidence, and we are going to pin it up to our corkboard. Now, what does this mean? Because it's really blurred out by the light. I can't read it. Something like... I don't know what that says, and it says pay up. I just don't know what that means. I wish I did, though. Maybe we'll be able to read it better when it's on the corkboard. Although I don't know why we would hang a photo of ourselves on the corkboard. Now, I think you can get in there via some other means. I can't remember what the other means are. But there's no risk in not remembering the number. It's just nice if you do.
Surveillance cameras at Pan Estates? I promise I'll help Miss Grant next time. If there is one.
Why? I mean, he's right. Anyway, we could talk to David about whether he's working for the Prescotts, but he's not. He submitted a proposal.
Give up William, but defend David? Would Chloe hate me if she knew?
Oh, I think we'll find out. Anyway, he got to put in a proposal for securing some Blackwell stuff, and didn't get the job.
Yo, Chloe! Are you ready yet? I have to get back to my dorm.
And that's it for this one. Let's start in the next episode from here. We're gonna go ahead and get our investigation going.
Coordinates. David is like a one-man surveillance army. Now let's get the hell out of here before we get busted. But I absolutely have to go see Kate in the hospital right now. I want to find out how she's doing.